Scheduling needs to be fixed. Playoffs need to be fixed. We're working on the playoffs right now, but before we do, and that series is coming out in a few weeks where we will fix the playoffs and the scheduling. But for right now, just to look into what the college football playoffs would have looked like during the playoff era if we had an 18 playoff. We finished that series. Check out the videos. Or a 16-team playoff. So we're looking at two separate models here. We did the same thing with the 8-team. One is just the college football playoff rankings. I do not propose this or support it, but if we just take the college football playoff rankings, they're already selecting the top 4. Amongst they're selecting the top 25. We take the top 4 for the invitational. We would just take the top 16. Or we go the Democratic route and we go the route of earning the spots by winning a conference. So 10 conference champions make it, and then the top 6 wild cards. There's a number of ways you can select the wild cards. I simply went by record of the best Power 5 teams, and then I broke ties logically. And I have run that down video by video. Okay, here's the 16-team field based on all the conference champions being represented. The 1-16 matchup is Alabama out of the SEC as the 1 seed in 2016. App State, the Sun Belt champion, the 16. 8-9 game, Wisconsin and West Virginia. That was the 8-9 game. The 4-13 game, Penn State and the American Conference champion Temple. Ohio State and Louisville was the 5-12 game. Clemson and Western Kentucky would have been the 2-15 game. Western Kentucky won Conference USA. The 7-10 game, Michigan, and remember PJ Fleck's final team at Western Michigan? They went 13-0. They only lost by 8 points to Wisconsin in the Cotton Bowl. They would have taken on Michigan as a 7-10 game. The 3-14 game, Washington, San Diego State. The Huskies, of course, went to the playoffs, lost to Alabama that year as the 4 seed. And then the 6-11 game, you got Oklahoma and Colorado. The Buffs lost the Pac-12 championship game to Washington. They make it as a wild card at 10-3. Okay, got a lot of interesting scenarios with the wild cards here. So out is USC, Stanford, Oklahoma State, and Florida State. They all went 9-3. I broke the tie with the 10-2 and 9-3 teams like West Virginia, like Wisconsin, like Colorado, like Michigan. All those teams went 10-2 or 10-3. Louisville I chose over these other teams because the ACC did not have a second representative. Now, there's other ways to do it. I'm just offering one way, and the way I'm doing it is just taking the best records of the wildcard teams in the Power 5. Just taking the best records, and then if there's a tie, if there's a logical determination to be made, like many times 2 teams had played, well, I take the winner. Minnesota Penn State in 2019 played, so I took Minnesota to break that 10-2 versus 10-2 tie. In other instances, I'm just evening out the conferences, not taking, let's say, 4 from the SEC and only 1 from the Big 12. So, because there was representation from the SEC and the Big 10, etc., on down the line, a second team, that's why I took Louisville as a 9-3 team out of the ACC and left out USC, Stanford, Oklahoma State, and Florida State, all 9-3 teams. Virginia Tech went 9-4. They're an interesting case here. This could be another sticking point that would have to be worked through because Virginia Tech went 9-4, but they only lost that 4th game because they advanced to the ACC championship game. So do you penalize a team for advancing to a conference championship game and losing to one of the best teams in the country? So Virginia Tech could have been selected over Louisville despite being 9-4. Interesting in the SEC in this particular year, down year for the SEC in regards to elite. Alabama, sure, but nobody else. The second place team in the SEC, the second seed was Auburn. They finished 8-5 after they lost to Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl. Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, Texas A&M all went 8-4 and LSU at 7-4. Interesting year in the SEC where there were a lot of good teams, a lot of like top 15 to 25 teams, but nobody really joined Alabama as a top team. And there's usually 2 or 3 or 4 of those. College football playoff rankings would have produced this playoff. Bama, West Virginia is the 1-16 game. Wisconsin, USC is the 8-9. I like that matchup. Washington, Louisville is the 4-13. I love all these Power 5 matchups. They're just phenomenal to think about. When do these teams ever play? Wisconsin, West Virginia. Ohio State, Louisville, Oklahoma, Colorado, and we've had even better ones. So again, the 8-9 Wisconsin, USC, Washington, Louisville, the 4-13. Penn State, Oklahoma State is the 5-12 game. That was the Big Ten champion taking on the second seed out of the Big 12. Clemson, Western Michigan, that undefeated Western Michigan team. Oklahoma, Colorado, the 7-10 game. The 3-14 game, Ohio State with a rough one against Auburn as a 14 seed out of the SEC. And then Michigan, Florida State. Ironically, they did play that season in the postseason Orange Bowl matchup, and Florida State won it over Michigan 33-32. 2016, we look back, we look at 16-team playoffs based on all the conference champions earning a spot versus the college football playoff rankings. Give us your thoughts here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And, of course, smash the like button and subscribe for the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. That's our aim. That's our goal. That's our mission.